a real sense in this Conservative Party that Jeremy Corbyn's winning the battle of ideas.
And they are not resolved here about how to respond to that. There's real tension right across this conference and also, frankly, a lot of scratching of heads. What people like the Chancellor want to do is come out and make a full-throated defence of the market. They don't want to chuck the baby out with the bathwater. They don't want to panic and say, well, suddenly we don't believe all the things that we've believed for decades. But there are other politicians here, other Conservatives, who are much more convinced that the consensus in this country has genuinely changed. It genuinely has moved, and therefore they ought to respond. And in fact, the Prime Minister herself at a fringe meeting last night said that Jeremy Corbyn has changed the consensus.
Well, yes, the big question at conference is how to respond to the Jeremy Corbyn threat. Do you basically move to the left, raise taxes, as Oliver Letwin was discussing earlier on, or do you stand your ground and make the moral case for low taxation, say it makes everybody better off? So in other words, if the ground is shifting, do you try to shift with the ground if you believe politics is moving to the left, or do you try to pull people back to your line of argument? Now, you can get this over Brexit, you can get this over conservatism more generally, but right now that is the question. They don't know whether to continue the policy of basically making concession after concession to the left.
It's extraordinary, Rachel, isn't it, to hear the Prime Minister, she did it to Andrew Myers Day, late night on the fringe here, she actually declared as a matter of fact the consensus has moved in politics. In other words, Corbyn's winning the argument.
Yeah, and there's a danger for the Conservatives looking like Labour light. So these sort of rather small, petty changes that they've announced to tuition fees and this shift on, giving more money for Help to Buy, it looks like they're really echoing Labour rather than trying to solve the problems that people feel are there with Conservative proposals.